Well, good afternoon and thanks for joining us. I'm Mackailyn Johnson. Here's a look at the stories we're following this Thursday. Now at noon, the Arkansas special legislative session called by the governor is over. In just 2 minutes, we'll share more on the legislation Governor Asa Hutchinson is signing into law today.
The steamy temperatures can increase the risk of a common problem, kidney stones. I'm Michael George with how you can prevent them.
Plus, the latest developments in the New York State investigation into the business practices of former U.S. President Donald Trump. But first, meteorologist Scott Covert is here with us. We're bringing the morning show to the afternoon. But you know, if you come outside, it's going to be really gloomy right now. What else can we expect for the rest of the day?
You know, it is mostly cloudy out there, pretty humid, but we're going to start to see those clouds begin to break up. In fact, many locations north of the metro here this afternoon already seeing a little bit of sunshine. Once we start to see that sun, we'll start to see those temperatures warm up. Of course, I'm tracking a few spotty areas of rain. You'll notice on Doppler radar that activity that I am tracking, it's pretty spotty in nature. It's not necessarily widespread. That radar does show us that activity drifting off towards the west, southwest, and not very widespread. It's very spotty, very isolated in nature, spanning from Lake Hamilton and Bismarck, Caddo Valley to Arkadelphia, back towards Rison, Star City. These are true hit and miss showers. You might see a little bit of rain, and you're probably going to be looking to the town over and you see some sunshine. This can be expected probably the next few hours. Temperatures this afternoon climbing right now at 82 in Little Rock. It's up to 87 in Pine Bluff. We'll see a high today of 89 degrees, partly cloudy skies. Certainly a very humid day. Those isolated showers continuing, especially there in southern and southeast Arkansas. I've brought down the rain chances just a bit, 20% in the metro, 30% chance in Monticello. Now we're going to start to dry out going into the weekend. It is going to get hotter, but our humidity is going to come down, at least for the weekend. That's some good news, right? A full look at that forecast coming right up.
Thanks, Scott. And new at noon, tax cuts and funding for school safety improvements are on their way to the governor's desk this afternoon. Lawmakers wrapped up the special session this morning, passing the $500 million package, which would cut taxes for Arkansans who make less than $87,000 a year. The House and Senate also approved a bill that sets aside $50 million to fund the School Safety Commission's recommendations to improve safety in schools across the state. The governor will sign both of those bills this afternoon at 1 p.m. You can watch that live on our streaming platform, THV11 Plus, as well as on our website and YouTube. In other news, a measure to legalize recreational marijuana in Arkansas still has a chance to get on the ballot, and the Arkansas Supreme Court has ordered election officials to get ready just in case they give it the thumbs up after hearing arguments in the case. It comes just a week after the State Board of Election Commissioners rejected the measure due to concerns that Responsible Growth Arkansas did not have sufficient background checks for dispensary owners or limits on THC. Voters in Little Rock and North Little Rock voted yes to taxes in Tuesday's election. Now big plans are in the works to improve public safety, public works, and parks. In North Little Rock, one of the main focuses is on the fire department. The assistant fire marshal tells THV11 2 new fire stations will be built with the tax money, and that will step up public safety in the city.
If the fire station is not up to par, there's a chance that we won't be able to respond. So getting a new fire station with the proper equipment in it is exactly what the citizens deserve, and that's what they're going to get out of this.
A new station will be built near the current central one and also in the east end of town. Former President Trump refused to answer questions in a civil deposition on Wednesday, just 2 days after the FBI searched his Florida home. The developments have his allies vowing to wage political warfare against opponents in Congress and law enforcement. Robert Costa has more from New York.
How do you feel, Mr. Trump? How do you feel?
Former President Trump Wednesday invoked the Fifth during a 4-hour videotape deposition in a New York State investigation into his business practices. New York State Attorney General Letitia James's office wrote that James will pursue the facts and the law wherever they may lead. Trump insisted he had no choice but to decline to answer questions and that he did nothing wrong. But taking the Fifth is something he has previously criticized.
If you're innocent, why are you taking the Fifth Amendment?
CBS News legal analyst Ricky Kleeman says Trump's decision was understandable.
Any lawyer worth his or her salt would have told Donald Trump that it was essential for him to invoke his Fifth Amendment privilege.
Still, Trump faces other ongoing investigations. Criminal probe led by the Manhattan District Attorney into his businesses there, and a Fulton County, Georgia District Attorney on his efforts to overturn the state's 2020 election results. Meanwhile, Trump and GOP allies continue to lash out at the FBI over its search of his Florida home earlier this week.
Look, this is the DOJ run amok.
Pennsylvania Congressman Scott Perry spoke out last night about the FBI seizing his cell phone Tuesday. His lawyer says he is not the target of the probe.
Now, the president's house was raided Monday. Do you think they're linked?
Right. I think all of this is linked.
Trump-appointed FBI Director Christopher Wray declined to comment on the Trump search, but had this to say about the recent rise of threats against the Justice Department.
Again, violence against law enforcement is not the answer, no matter what anybody's upset about.
The Florida judge who signed off on the FBI warrant has been facing a wave of violent threats on right-wing social media sites where users have published his personal information and threatened his family. 4 homes were destroyed and more than 3 dozen others damaged after a massive explosion in Evansville, Indiana on Wednesday. At least 3 people died. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives is investigating to figure out what caused the explosion. And the farewell tour for tennis great Serena Williams got off to a disappointing start after she lost her first match since announcing plans to leave the game. The 40-year-old received a standing ovation from the crowd in Toronto, and she's likely to get the same adoring reaction at next week's tournament in Cincinnati as she prepares for the U.S. Open in New York later this month. And as parts of the U.S. deal with widespread droughts, Europe is also facing a historic dry spell. Some areas experiencing conditions not seen since perhaps the Middle Ages. Ian Lee reports.
Firefighters confront a wall of flames in France. Hot and dry weather fuel wildfires across the country. Authorities are evacuating thousands of people in the south.
La journée de très grand risque.
Warning the heat waves and historic dry air are making it difficult to put them out.
The lack of rain and high temperatures are historic. Take here in England. So far, it's been the driest year in nearly half a century, leading to water shortages.
The country's lush green fields are now dry, dusty, brown. And even the source of the famous River Thames has evaporated.
See, it's completely dried up all the way. The odd puddle, the odd muddy bit, no flow anywhere so far. So hopefully downstream we'll find the Thames, but at the moment it's gone.
More than half of Europe is experiencing drought conditions as it braces for another heat wave this week, with temperatures in some places expected to hit 100 degrees. One of the worst affected is Spain, where a recent study found parts of the country are the driest they've been in 1,200 years. This local businessman calls it very dark times. It's been years without rain and we're hitting rock bottom, he says. As the waters recede, Europe's hidden history emerges, including this 9th century Spanish church. And in northern Italy, a World War II bomb pulled from a riverbed and safely detonated.
There is some relief in sight. Forecasters are predicting rain for parts of Europe starting next week, and we've got a peek at weather in just a moment. But first, summer brings fun activities and relaxation for many, but for some, the season brings pain and discomfort. When we return, a closer look at kidney stones. And Scott?
Some are seeing rain across the natural state here this afternoon. Others starting to see some sunshine out there. Details on what you can expect as we head into the weekend coming right up.